Around 3 miles away from where I live in Chicago, southeast from my apartment in Wicker Park, is the most congested stretch of road in the entire United States. Just west of Union Station, once one of the busiest railway stations in the entire world, is the intersection between I-90 and I-290, otherwise known as the Kennedy and Eisenhower Expressways. Named the Jane Byrne Interchange, this junction occupies an entire city block. From it, the Kennedy runs northwest, while the Eisenhower runs west. Most weeks, I cycle across one of the many bridges that cross these two highways into the city. At most hours of the day, the traffic beneath me is thick, with every lane full of vehicles of all sorts. The speed limits posted show that drivers are allowed to go at 55 miles per hour. But, except occasionally late at night, almost none do. They move along at 30 miles per hour or less, and often sit almost completely still, bumper to bumper, hooting at each other. These roads came long after much of the rest of Chicago was built. The building I live in was constructed in 1890, on a street built for the new upper middle class, produced by the late Victorian Industrial Revolution. My neighborhood is full of these houses, and it is one of the loveliest places I have ever lived. You can walk almost anywhere you need to, and there is a stop on the L train, Chicago's subway system, around a 5-minute walk away, which I use to get around when I don't feel like cycling. Most of the houses are beautiful, solid brick buildings with grand porches, high ceilings, and huge windows. I only rarely use the freeway that runs less than a mile away from my front door, because, unlike most of the residents of Chicago, I do not own a car. And yet, living in Chicago, it is hard not to wonder what the city might be like if it and the other roads that cross the city had never been constructed. The expressways were built in the 1950s and 60s. Some parts replaced factories and warehouses, but they also were built by demolishing lots of homes much like the one I currently live in. The Eisenhower led to 13,000 families being relocated. And now, they run like a scar through the city. If you are on foot or on a bicycle, when you cross over or under them, you go through whole blocks of what is essentially wasteland. Half-used parking lots, derelict buildings, and a lot of awful big box stores surrounded by acres of tarmac. Just a 15-minute walk from some of the most expensive real estate in Chicago, it can feel like an outer suburb. If you travel by car, you will probably miss the colossal waste of space. But if you walk or cycle around, it is impossible to ignore. When the freeways were built, West Town, the neighborhood Wicker Park is a part of, fell into decline. The population of the neighborhood, mostly the descendants of Polish and Ukrainian immigrants who had moved to Chicago decades earlier, moved out to the suburbs in droves. The landlords who had housed them, often subdividing the older homes to squeeze more people in, stopped investing in their properties. Many buildings were simply abandoned, or worse, set on fire for insurance fraud. In one 3-year period, from 1976 to 1978, Chicago firefighters were called to more than 350 suspicious building fires. Living here now, eating at the fancy restaurants and shopping at the boutiques that have opened in recent years, it is hard to imagine. Houses like mine have refilled with well-off yuppies like me, as people realized that cheap real estate still had value and began to come back. And yet, it happened. Indeed, not long after arriving in Chicago, I was given the chance to interview Mayor Lori Lightfoot. When I told her where I was living, she smiled and gently told me about how much it has gentrified since she lived in the same neighborhood in the 1980s. Not everywhere in the city has recovered in quite the same way. Chicago's population is still 25% lower than it was in 1950, before the highway construction began. Many neighborhoods elsewhere in the city did not rebound in the way West Town eventually did, whether because their populations started poorer, or because they contained more industry, or because their housing stock was less pretty. They were abandoned. Many neighborhoods continue to lose population to the present day, particularly on the south and west sides, the centers of Black Chicago, where the freeway projects were often most destructive. Depressingly, large parts of the city, which is still one of America's greatest metropolises, and is now the only true economic center of the Midwest, are now characterized by huge windswept parking lots and overgrown fields where houses once stood.